Hi guys, it's Brian from Mannequin Models here. Today we're going to be looking at 3 of our stencils, and we've chosen to do these all together because they work in exactly the same way. So we have the tank turret numbers here. You can see you've got numbers 1 to 9 and 0 in different sizes, and also the allied stars, which is number 2. You can see we go from very tiny little stars up to larger ones. And we have the star with the circle around it as well, in different sizes. And also number 18, the balkenkreuz set. Again, lots of sizes from very small up to larger ones over here. Now you may be wondering why there's these shapes around some of the stencils. I'm going to explain that now. This stencil works in 2 different ways. So you've got these pieces, which is for one type of stencil, and these, which is another type. So I'm going to start off using these ones. First off, you want to pick the right size. Until you actually need them, you may as well leave the stencils on the sheet, so it just keeps them tidy. So I think I'm going to go for this one here. Now, you can see on the camera, they have these little tags here. Now these need to be cut before you can take the stencil out of the sheet. Don't try and just pull it out of the sheet. You'll tend to stretch it or break it. So I'm going to cut those now. So once you've cut all the tags, you're left with this shape. So we'll just move this to one side. So the idea here is this is used to help mask off the rest of the model without having to actually tape everything. So what we do is we fold, see there's this line here, we fold along that line. So you have this shape. So you can see now that it makes a little bucket, and this is going to stop all the overspray from going on the rest of the model. But we need to seal up these corners. Now I like to use just some clear tape for this. And the trick is you want to have the bottom side needs to be as flat as possible. So we start off by doing the bottom. If you can see that on the camera. Obviously you don't want to obscure the actual design. You fold over one side, put the 2 corners together, and fold the tape round. If you want to, you can, if there's any excess tape, you can fold it over the top. So then, you can see you've got a nice little bucket to keep the paint off the rest of the model. So let's do the other corners. Again, you want the bottom to be as smooth as possible, so always start with the bottom. Doesn't matter too much if it doesn't join together, as long as there's tape there to stop paint getting out. So there we have our finished stencil. It takes a little setting up, but once you've done this, this is quite strong. It's just going to stay like that, and if you've made multiples of these, you can just slot them into each other. Obviously you don't want to leave any weight on it to crush it. Now the idea with this is that this will catch all the overspray and stop you from spraying the rest of the model that you don't want to. So I'm going to show you that now. Now I'm going to demonstrate what the little bucket's for. So if I take one of these other stencils, which I'll show you what these are for later, if I just use it on this plastic card here, and we spray the design, When we remove that, you'll see that there's a faint outline of paint around the stencil. Now, in some situations that would be a lot more noticeable. So, the idea of the little buckets is that we don't get that. So if you have lots of vehicles to do in the same time, you can just go along and do them all. So each of these has two different types of cross in there. So the idea, you can either tape over one of them, or because you're going to need to press this down onto the model anyway, I just use my thumb to cover up one side or the other. So if I just cover that side up, place the cross where I want it to go, as we can see, there's no outline. This line here is from the previous time. There's no outline there from the masking, so you can very quickly go along from lots of models and put the cross on all of them. Now the way these work is the part of the model you want to use this on has to be perfectly flat, so it only works on flat parts. Now we can also do curved crosses. These ones here, the idea is you can curve these around a curved area of a model. So let's do that on this little Plastic Soldier Company Tiger. So we line up as we can see where I've sprayed on the stencil, you can't see through it anymore. So to fix that, the best way to clean them is lay down a piece of towel there, and you just use some airbrush cleaner suitable for whichever paints you've been using, and we just clean it off. Now, the reason we put the cloth down is because you end up having the paint go through, and that stops the back of the stencil getting all dirty. So you can see that's clean now. So I'm going to look through the stencil so we can see the turret through there, if the camera can pick it up. So we're going to curve that around in between these two bits here, I think, and make sure it's straight. Now if this was a larger model, we would have to mask off the rest of the model, but as this is quite small, the rest of the stencil is covering it up, so we don't need to. I'm doing this with light coats. If you come in really heavy like this, the paint's going to run under the stencil, so it's just a light dusting. So there you go. Back on our Tiger. And got some bigger ones here. We could do that on this tank here. Now you can use the straight lines of the box on the straight line of this edge here to make sure that the stencil's straight. And again, because of the bucket, we don't have to mask off the whole rest of the tank. So light passes. You've got to be very careful not to move the stencil after you've started painting. And when you remove the stencil, lift it up rather than sideways. And then we have the cross on the side there. Also, we have the turret numbers, number 14, and that works in exactly the same way. So I've already made up a couple here. As we can see, there's a line running through the middle there, and that's to help you keep all the numbers level. So if we put a piece of tape on our model so it's straight with the rest of the tank. This isn't to mask, this is just to keep the numbers level. And what we'll do is if we line up this line with the top of the tape, now we can see there's two different sizes here. I'm going to go for the bigger size. Let's get the airbrush. So line up with the tape. Again, we don't have to mask off all the model, that's the point for the buckets. Nice light coat and then build it up. Just let it dry a second. Number there. And I'm going to do 28, so I've got my 8 here. Again, we line up the line under the number, and I don't know if you can see this, but you might just about see where the 2 is, so we'll line up the 8 next to that so that they're making a number. So there we go. Number 28. And it works in the same way. You have the other stencils for doing round curves, which you would then have to mask off around. So that's how that works. And the allied stars works in exactly the same way. I'm just going to quickly spray a couple of those on here just to show you how they work. So I've got a couple of the stencils here. I'm just going to do them flat on the board just for quickness, as we've already seen how the stencils work with the buckets. So you just spray these with your suitable colour. Again, nice and light coats. There you go. So that's how those stencils work, and then when you're finished, as I said, you can just stack these in a little pile, ready for another time. Thanks for watching. Cheers then, bye.